Hey gang, Rich Thompson here. Today I want to go through the 10 most commonly asked questions when it comes to the Equity Index Universal Life Policy, or the IUL as it's commonly referred to. The organization that we belong to has structured thousands of Equity Index Universal Life contracts, and we provide some of the best training for our advisors and also for our clients as well when it comes to these policies and how to best utilize them. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, obviously you know because you're watching this video that the Equity Index Universal Life contract or policy is the fastest growing type of permanent insurance that exists in the marketplace today, with good reason. So we're going to go through 10 of the most commonly asked questions when it comes to structuring these policies, and hopefully it'll help you to understand the IUL a little bit better and how to properly utilize it. Okay, so let's get started with question number 1. What is the minimum that I will need in order to start an IUL? I get asked this question all the time by potential clients. They want to know what is the minimum that they can put into a contract. Really, it's not about the minimum that can be put into the contract. It really boils down to how much the minimum death benefit will cost for that individual who's attempting to qualify for the insurance. If they want to utilize an IUL for wealth accumulation, if they're going to put $100 per month into a policy as an example, and the cost of insurance for $100,000 worth of death benefit coverage, which in some cases is the minimum amount that an insurer will allow a policy owner to have in an Equity Index Universal Life policy. If they're putting in just that minimum, all they're doing is buying expensive death benefit. They're not utilizing the premium growing potential of the policy, if you will, where they can actually have additional monies inside that policy growing for them in a tax deferred manner that we'll discuss in some of our later questions. So to answer the question, what is the minimum? I would say if you're not putting in at least 2 times the cost of insurance, it really doesn't make sense to try to utilize one of these policies for wealth accumulation. Okay, question number 2. What is the indexing within an Equity Index Universal Life policy, or an IUL? What is indexing exactly? Why do they call it an Index Universal Life, Equity Index Universal Life contract? Well, it's called an Equity Index Universal Life contract because the strategy of indexing is used in the contract. Indexing is basically putting your excess premium into a side account, if you will, right, that actually operates between a floor and a ceiling in most instances. Now, why is this important? It's important because it takes away much of the downside risk that one would experience in a product such as a variable universal life product, where the money is actually put, the excess funds are actually put directly into the market. And when funds are put into the market, what happens? The market goes up and the market goes down, right? And you can actually lose the principal or that excess premium that's in that side account. So what's so different inside of an Equity Index Universal Life contract is that the money is actually in an indexed account, okay, that actually has a floor in most instances of 0, where the money can be safe and secure, but also has upside potential for growth. In most instances, the money can grow between 10 to 15% per year or even more. We actually have policies that we utilize that don't even have a cap on the upside. So imagine, if you will, having the excess dollars that you put inside of the insurance contract where it's safe and secure on the downside with a 0 floor, but on the upside, there's unlimited earning potential for those dollars. So that's what indexing is. It's giving you the potential for your monies to grow without actually putting the money in the market. You're actually indexing the money in a side fund that mirrors an index such as the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ, some instances, even Euro stocks and things of that nature. Things you would normally invest in, but now you're just indexing against those accounts versus actually putting your dollars into the actual markets, if you will, and risking loss of principal. Okay, question number 3. How can the Equity Index Universal Life Policy state that I will have a floor of 0 or more on my accumulation account each year? I get this question all of the time from potential clients or prospects who come in who are interested in an IUL for their portfolio, if you will. They can't understand how they could have so much upside potential of their dollars, but at the same time have the downside protection of being safe and secure with a 0 floor. In some instances, even having a floor of 2%, right? They just can't understand how that's even possible because they've never seen anything like that before. Well, here's the secret, if you will. The insurance company actually takes a portion of the premium dollars, right, that are deposited into the account, the cost of insurance, if you will. Let's say 2 or 3% of those premium dollars, maybe 5, but in most instances, it's going to be somewhere between, let's say, between 2 and 5% of those premium dollars. And they're going to take those dollars and they're going to purchase options with those dollars. If you understand how options work, you'll understand that an option either is going to earn you money, right, or it's going to expire worthless. So they buy options against the index of your choice, and those options are either going to make you money, right, earn you money that'll be credited against your accumulation value and or your cash value account inside of your policy, or the options will expire worthless if that index has a negative return in that year. So the worst that an individual can do in any calendar year when indexing on their principal that's in the index is actually 0, the cost of the option that is built into the premium, if you will. So when someone says that, you're not going to have a negative year, technically, you're not going to have a negative year, but you will pay the cost of insurance inside of your policy. So your accumulation value will go down by the cost of insurance for that year if you don't have any market gains. But your actual principal is protected because of that index. So that's how they do it, folks. The secret is the insurance company purchases options, and they get them really, really cheap because they can buy a bunch of them at one time. Question number 4. Are Equity Index Universal Life Insurance illustrations realistic? You see it all of the time. An individual will come into my office with an illustration that shows just tremendous growth on their money and just huge income in retirement that they're getting from this IUL policy. Now, does that happen? Yes, it does. And it happens quite often when the policy is structured properly. But I'm going to be transparent and be quite honest with you. Most advisors, I'd say about 50%, over 50% of advisors who actually sell Equity Index Universal Life policies are not illustrating the policies properly. They're not using realistic rates of return inside of the policies. They're also not using realistic loan rates inside of the policy, which is something that most advisors and agents, unfortunately, don't even understand. There are many moving parts to an IUL. The product is so good. This vehicle, this life insurance vehicle, if you will, for wealth accumulation and protection is so good that there's no hype needed. The illustrations don't have to be enhanced, if you will, in an attempt to impress a client, because when structured properly, there really aren't too many other financial vehicles that can give the type of what I call amplification of deposited dollars. It's unreal what you can do inside of these policies. But unfortunately, many of the illustrations that are done are not realistic because they use the highest possible crediting rates and the lowest possible loan rates that can be possibly used by the agents. In many instances, the incomes are enhanced by hundreds of thousands of dollars, beyond what's realistic or probable. Is it possible that these things can happen? Yes. But a responsible agent and or advisor is going to give their client an illustration that's, number one, structured properly for maximum efficiency, and number two, is going to use interest rates and loan rates that can be validated based on historicals, based on true historicals, and not only the historicals, conservative use of those historicals. If you don't know that your advisor is utilizing validated information and not just the maximum illustrated rate that the insurance carrier gives them, you need to run as quickly as possible and find an advisor that can validate the numbers that they're using inside of these policies. Because when structured properly, they don't need to be enhanced. They can do things beyond your wildest imagination with your money. Okay, question number 5. Can an equity index universal life insurance policy outperform a whole life policy? Well, that's a pretty straightforward question, right? I get that all the time. Unfortunately, in the financial services arena or insurance arena, whatever you want to call it, some individuals use this as an insurance product. Some individuals use this as both an insurance product and a financial vehicle. Now, the perspective that the individual who is advising the client looks at the insurance product from will determine how it's utilized. Okay? The whole life question is one that is a constant discussion or topic in the financial services arena. Can the whole life insurance product outperform the IUL? Can it? Yes, it possibly can. Now, after answering that with yes, it possibly can, now we have to answer the question, what are the odds that it will outperform the IUL? Well, when looking at historicals going back decades and utilizing the indexes that the monies inside of an IUL policy are growing within, the chances that a whole life policy will outperform an IUL are very low when given enough time. If you're looking at a time period in a horizon of anywhere from 10 years and beyond, the chances of a whole life policy outperforming an IUL are very, very slim, although possible. All right, question number 6. Question number 6. Is whole life insurance more efficient than the equity index universal life insurance policy? Now, once again, let me just preface, this answer by just saying whole life insurance is a proven product. I think all advisors who sell the IUL should have traditional whole life insurance products in their portfolio. Whole life is a more conservative product, but it's proven. Whole life has performed for over a century, right? It's proven. Whole life insurance products have paid dividends for a very long time with mutual companies. So whole life is a good thing. Let me say that. I am in no way, shape, or form against whole life and actually use it for my clients who are more conservative. Okay? Now, is it more efficient than the IUL? The answer to that question is no. The difference between whole life and the equity index universal life insurance policy, without getting too high level, if you will, and getting into an answer that's too stuffy, let's just say, simplified, a whole life insurance policy charges you as much as it possibly can on an annual basis. It charges you the guaranteed maximum amount of premium on an annual basis. And then at the end of each year, you are given back what's called a dividend, which is really a return of the overpayment of premium. So when I'm talking to clients, I can kind of use the parallel of overpaying your taxes, if you will. You may overpay your taxes, and you'll get that money back when tax season comes. But you've basically given a loan to the government for anywhere from, from 1 month up to many as 16 months. You've given them a loan, right? So that was free money for the government. I look at whole life insurance the same way. There's nothing wrong with that because you are getting the money back, right? And you have the guarantees and peace of mind that your premiums will never go up because you're already paying the maximum amount of premium the maximum cost of insurance, that you'll ever be charged, right, for that policy. And you're being rebated, if you will, anything that's over the current cost of insurance. Okay, now let's look at that versus the equity index universal life policy and how it works. The equity index universal life insurance policy operates a little bit differently. Okay, the guaranteed amount that you could be charged for when having an IUL is higher than the guaranteed maximum cost of insurance in a whole life policy. Now, are you charged that higher guaranteed maximum? No, you're not. So although that you could possibly be charged instead of $100 per month, when the actual cost of insurance right now is, let's say, $50 per month in a whole life policy. So let me just backtrack for a second. In a whole life policy, just to be clear, you may be charged $100 per month when the actual cost of insurance might be, let's say, $75 per month. Okay? And then at the end of the year, you're basically rebated, if you will, the $25 in excess that you paid above the actual current cost of insurance. So you're giving that money back, right? But you'll never be charged more than that $100 per month. In an IUL, you might possibly be charged, let's say, $150 per month for the same amount of insurance in the guaranteed fine print of that policy. The insurance company will say, we could charge you $150 per month for this amount of insurance that the whole life company is charging you $100 per month for right now. You with me? But do they actually charge you the $150 per month? They do not. Whereas the whole life insurance company is charging $100 per month when the actual current cost of insurance is $75 per month, the equity index universal life policy only charges you the current cost of insurance, which is $75 per month. So at the end of each year, there's no need for any sort of rebate or dividend in that policy because all you're ever charged is the current cost of insurance. Now, why is this important? Well, let's go back to the example of overpaying your taxes and receiving a refund. What if you did not overpay those taxes and you were able to take that extra $25 per month that you're paying into a whole life policy and you were able to invest that somewhere where it could grow at a rate of return of anything, let's say 4, 5, 6, 7% per year, just as an example. You would actually earn money that you are not earning currently because you're letting the IRS hold your money for over a year. So there's opportunity cost involved when you overpay your taxes, just as within a whole life insurance contract when you overpay your premium. Therefore lies our answer. An equity index universal life policy, or IUL, is more efficient because you only pay the current cost of insurance on an annual basis. Although potentially the maximum cost could be higher, the chances of that happening are very low when you understand how the policies actually work. Question number 7 in our most commonly asked questions regarding the equity index universal life policy, or IUL. How do the equity index universal life policy loans work? How do the policy loans work? Once again, we're giving pretty simple answers to these questions right now, and really, questions that really dig in really deep into the sections of the Internal Revenue Code and all that good stuff as to why you can do certain things within a policy. Those conversations are really left to one-on-one types of conversations, which, of course, we're always open to have. But the simple answer to how do policy loans work inside of an IUL allows you to utilize what are known as participating loans. Okay? Now, what is a participating loan? This means when you borrow money from inside of a policy, okay? When you borrow against your dollars that are inside of the policy, your cash value, not actually take your cash value out, you borrow against your cash value, right? You actually never pull your money out of the policy. So you get a loan from the insurance company, but your actual dollars that are inside of the policy can actually continue to participate in the index that we talked about earlier, where your money can earn, in many instances, anywhere from 10 to 15%, up to 10 to 15% a year. In many cases, have unlimited annual potential, right? But at the same time, you're able to get the money out that you need, and you are going to pay interest on those dollars. So how does this work? Let's say in a calendar year, okay, because those dollars are participating in the market. Let's say you borrowed from an equity index universal life policy. You borrowed $10,000 from your $50,000 of cash value that you had in the policy. Now, remember, you never actually pull your $50,000 out of the policy. You borrow against those dollars, right? Let's say you're able to borrow against those dollars at a rate of, let's say, 5%, right? So you borrow $10,000 at a rate of 5%. So that means that the insurance company, for the right of borrowing their money, is going to charge you 5% in interest on an annual basis for that money. So the first year on that $10,000, you'll be charged $500 in interest. 500 is 5% of 10,000. Are you with me? Right? Now, this is where the magic happens, which is why the IUL can do unbelievable things that other types of insurance contracts can't do in a safe and secure environment. While protecting your principal that you never actually pulled out of the policy, those dollars that you have actually borrowed against are still able to participate in market growth. So you're going to continue to earn interest on the entire $50,000 in cash value that's still in the policy. So let's give an example. Let's say the market goes up in a year, the index goes up by 10% that year. Let's say you have the S&P index that your monies are indexed against, and it goes up 10% in a calendar year. You would be credited 10% on the $50,000 if you have what's called a 100% participation rate, which most policies do have. So if the market goes up by 10%, that index, and you have $50,000 of an accumulated value in your policy, right? You're going to earn $5,000. That's 10% of $50,000. You with me? Now, how much interest did you pay for having that loan? For that year, you had a $10,000 loan that you paid 5% on, which was $500. But you earned 10% on the entire $50,000, including the $10,000 that you were borrowing against to take the loan. Now, you don't have to be that smart to understand that if I take a loan and I pay $500 on that $10,000, but I earn, let's say, 10% on that $10,000, which is $1,000, right? I'm already ahead by $500 for that year. So my cash value has grown by $500. In addition to those dollars, you're also earning interest on the money that you have not borrowed against. This is how money grows inside of an equity index universal life product utilizing participating loans. You never actually pull the dollars out of the contract. You simply borrow against the money that you already have in the contract and take a loan from the insurance company utilizing what I call collateralization, right? And arbitrage, which is you're earning money on the spread during years when the market or that index goes up by more, a larger percentage than you're actually paying in interest. That's a simple explanation of how these policies are able to grow and kick out lifetime incomes unlike any other financial vehicle that I've ever seen. All right, question number 8 in our most commonly asked questions regarding the Equity Index Universal Life Insurance Policy, or IUL. Which insurance companies offer the best Equity Index Universal Life policies? You know, there is no clear answer for that. No product is the perfect product. You know, some companies are strong in one area where others have their strengths, where that company may have their weakness, right? So I would say that the most important thing is to have the proper guidance and to have someone who can help you choose the IUL product and the insurance company that best fits your objective. Okay? This is not a cookie cutter, you know, one fits all type deal. This is basically customized. Your IUL policy should be customized based on what your needs are, your protection needs, your financial needs, what your horizon is, what your age is. So different products perform differently based on your age and your health. Believe it or not, you could have the same exact individual with the same age and same health, put them in two completely different products, funding the vehicles exactly the same, the two policies, and you'll have completely different results 10 or 20 years later, and a completely different income distribution in retirement if that's what the policy is being used for, which it is in most instances. So it's extremely important to have an advisor who has access to multiple products. You know, once again, you don't want an advisor who's pigeonholed into just being able to use one product no matter what your situation is, where they're going to try to fit that square peg into that round hole. You don't want that. You want to be customized. You want someone who has the ability to analyze and to validate any decisions that are being made on type of policy and the company that's being used to implement your strategy. Question number 9 is, how do I choose the right advisor to set up my IUL policy? You know, I've mentioned this in the previous questions. You must, if you want to do this thing the right way and take advantage of one of the most cutting edge vehicles that we've seen in decades in the insurance and financial arena, you need an advisor who can customize a policy to fit your needs. You need something that's customized, that's tailored to fit your needs and your goals in protection and retirement. You must find an advisor who's educated themselves, who's put in the time to educate you. You want someone who's going to take the complex and make it simple. You know, who's going to put you in a situation where you'll understand where you're putting your money, how the policy works, you know, what the pros and the cons are about the policy, and gives you peace of mind so you know what to expect in a conservative environment, not in an inflated, enhanced, you know, hyped up type of environment regarding the IUL product. So that's how I would recommend that you choose your advisor. Choose someone who's knowledgeable, realistic, and who has a great understanding and ability to communicate the ins and outs of this product to you. Question 10 is, can I really use an equity index universal life policy to create a tax-free income stream in retirement? Yes, you can. Under current tax law, and once again, let me repeat that, under current tax law, you can have a completely tax-free income stream in retirement by utilizing Internal Revenue Code Section 72E. that allows distributions to be taken from properly structured insurance contracts free of taxation. And the reason this is done, and the reason why this is able to be done, is because the distributions that you will receive when done properly are simply a collateralization of the monies that you've accumulated inside of the policy. And if the distributions are taken properly, you'll be able to take these distributions for the rest of your life and never pay any taxes on them. And the cherry on top is you'll also be able to leave behind a death benefit, which via Section 101A of the Internal Revenue Code is also tax-free. You know, I had an epiphany of sorts some years back where I realized if someone were to set up a properly structured insurance contract and utilize it for tax-free retirement income in retirement. Now, once again, monies can only be put into insurance contracts usually with after-tax dollars. But if you build up a policy and take distributions tax-free, right, throughout your retirement, and when it's your time and you die, right, and that policy pays out a death benefit, that death benefit, once again, is paid out tax-free. So your beneficiary now has tax-free dollars that they can now put into a new IUL. Didn't pay any taxes on the front end because it was given to them tax-free via a death benefit, your kids or your grandkids, right? And they can now put tax-free dollars into a new policy, accumulate those dollars tax-free, take distributions tax-free in their retirement, right, and or throughout their lifetime, and then pass on those dollars tax-free once again, creating this tax vacuum, if you will, that's been utilized by the financially privileged for decades that most people will never understand or be exposed to. So please take advantage of this vehicle. Choose the right advisor who can show you how to implement these advanced strategies that can change the financial future of your family forever.